Okay. So this is the kit project for the phone stand. It is in your kit in a paper bag labeled PH. You need to have safety glasses on and gloves. This metal is not razor sharp, but it is definitely sharp enough to cut you. And when I was putting these kits together, I got cut and had to clean up some of the parts. Okay, please turn your camera on to verify that you have your safety glasses and gloves on. Since I have verification, good, thank you. We will begin. Thank you. Good, Ian, got gloves on? Okay, I mean, I did provide 2 Band-Aids in your kit, but let's try to prevent accidents. But always be prepared. Okay. So with this phone stand, everybody should have 3 parts. Call this kind of the main piece, and then we have 2 sides. Looking at these were laser cut. Remember in trimester 1, we did an assignment where you created a DXF file and uploaded it to sendcutsend.com to get an estimate on how it got cut out? That was done through this company with these projects. So this metal is aluminum. It's 40 thousandths thick, 0.040. It's thinner than the parts that we worked with the other day. Notice that it kind of has like brush marks in it. This part has basically already been deburred. We don't have to do as much filing on this because it was cut with a very fancy, probably a laser cutter that was more than $100,000. So it's going to be a lot more accurate, a lot faster. So we have the holes for the rivets. And we have some lines that are cut. That is how wide the laser cuts, and that is like incredibly small. Much more accurate than my CNC plasma cutter. But it also comes with a cost, but these were able to be cut rather quickly for these kits. Looking at the other parts, also need to look for any defects. Please compare your 2 parts. Stack them on top of each other. They should be the same. Quote, should be. The kit that I grabbed, my 2 parts are not the same. Can you see that? Maybe. You see how this little tab piece is not the same as yours on the other side, and this hole is not in the center? See how this one looks good? So this is actually a bad part. So I might still be able to assemble it, but I do have extra kits at my house. But can you all confirm that both of your parts look the same? Because it is acceptable or understandable that, you know, they cut out hundreds of these. Maybe the metal gets shifted a little bit when it gets cut, and then it gets cut out incorrectly. Yeah, this is a bad part. I guess it's lucky that I got this in my kit, not you, because you might not be able to actually use it. I'm not exactly sure. But being able to identify defects in a part is incredibly important. Things are made by machines, but they still sometimes have mistakes. So I'm going to set these off to the side and grab the second. Here's another part that has a defect. You see how that edge is not straight? Okay. First step, even though it's not absolutely critical with these laser cut parts, this is good for practice and understanding the concept that all holes always need to be deburred. So take your countersink deburring tool and just give each hole a little twist on both sides. There is hardly a burr on these, but this is just good for concept and understanding that you always want to make sure your holes are completely free of any burr. That burr is like a piece of metal around the outside edge that might be raised, causing the pieces to not kind of sandwich flat against each other. And that can cause a spot where moisture can get into a part and cause erosion. And that is definitely something that is not good on an airplane part. So just give each hole a little twist with the countersink tool. Both sides. Like I said, you can turn your camera on. I actually do enjoy seeing your faces and watching you work. It's not like I'm asking you to give a speech or anything. Just also allows me to know that you're still working. So if you can get your camera on facing your hands, that would be great. You also want to make sure you're not countersinking or deburring too much. You're just making a slight chamfer is what it's called around the edge of the hole. The next tool that we'll be using is this deburring tool. This is the most dangerous tool in your kit. Okay, so this is a Naga brand. It's a Naga deburring tool. It has a pretty sharp blade with kind of a rounded tip, and this is going to be used for deburring edges, mainly inside edges. It's where this doesn't really work and a file doesn't work, and this is pretty fast. It has a detachable blade. If you pull the tip down, you can swap out these blades. And it rotates. So definitely need to wear gloves, because if you're using this with your hands and you slip, it will cut you. So what we're going to do is start with one of the side pieces. And basically what you do with this is you're not putting a lot of force like you're carving. You're just kind of dragging this along the inside. And it is something that takes some practice to get the hang of. Spinning around and just basically try to run it through the inside of the hole, not back and forth like I'm going clockwise, and just dragging it around the edge and spinning it. And that's basically going to shave off a little bit of metal around the outside edge, making it a lot smoother. This tool definitely takes some skill and getting used to. If you compare the sharpness of the edge before and after, does make it a lot nicer. So that is a deburring tool. You'll do both sides. Don't go around too much, because if you're taking too much material away, you're actually turning this into like a knife edge with a point. So just lightly go around 2 times. Sometimes it gets a little hung up and stuck, and you just got to go back over it again. Just like that, nice and slow. And you'll do that for the inside cutouts. So that example right there, anybody see what I just did? Maybe not. Sometimes you can slip, and that slip caused a scratch on my part. So this is where I was more watching the computer and not my hands. I'd recommend just going slow. Slow with a little bit of pressure. Around and around 2 to 3 times. Should get like a little curly cue of aluminum. All triangles, both sides. Should start to get the hang of it. A little bit of pressure and just kind of go slow. How's everybody doing? No blood?
No blood.
Okay. Remember, it'd be really fun if you could turn your cameras on so I can see you working. It's a little bit of a mess. Definitely recommend getting the vacuum when we're done. Okay. Next step, I'm gonna grab one of the small pieces of sandpaper and let's just go over the outside edges lightly, just to kind of break that sharp edge. Make this nice and soft. Obviously, we don't want any sharp edges. You don't want this cutting anybody when you're using it as a phone stand or maybe a book stand. I don't know what you're going to use it for, but it is designed to be a phone stand. But sharp edges are definitely not a good thing to have on any metal part, especially on airplane parts where sharp edges can cut people. They can also cut wires, hoses. You can also run that little piece of sandpaper on the inside if you want. Probably not necessary because the deburring tool did a pretty good job of that. Same thing with sides. Probably just the bottom edge of the sides. The rest of it's kind of hard to get to. Let me go ahead and sand the bottom edge. Okay, so now we're going to begin the folding process. This is where following my instructions can be important so you don't fold things the wrong way. Ideally, I would love to have like a set of instructions that you would follow, but I don't have those created, and that's why we're doing the live instruction. So where the single lines are, that indicates where we're going to bend. So first thing is basically when bending this, you want to keep it kind of flat on the table. And we're not using our bending tool on this part. And it's just gonna, it's like we're folding it just like a nice sheet of paper. You want to have it nice and firm. And we're gonna fold it so it's not like this, but it like kind of like a triangle. It's gonna be like a tent. So first I'll demonstrate. I'm gonna look and see. I have a pretty big scratch right there. Let me see if I can. Can't really sand that out, so I'm going to put that on the inside. So I have my scratch facing up. I'm going to grab a hold of the part that doesn't have this phone stand part, and then just firmly bend it. And these triangles should fit on the side. So it looks like I got to bend it just a little bit more. What's tricky about the aluminum, it's soft and easy to bend, but we can only bend it so much. And it also flexes a little bit. So I'm going to take my side piece and line it up. It's not quite perfect, but with the flex, it's good. Check both sides. Most of you might be aware, like if you take a paper clip and bend it back and forth many, many times, what eventually happens? It breaks. So you don't really have too many opportunities to unbend and rebend your sheet metal part. Okay. Now we're going to add the sides. So it doesn't matter which side goes on which side or which orientation, it will all fit. This is where we're going to take our bending tool. Going to place it over two of them, and then these will get bent down at approximately not quite 90 degrees. I would err on the side of just bending it a little bit and bending it a little more if needed. You get a little freedom with the bending, but like I said, you can't just like bend it back and forth and go, oh, that was too much, bend it back, bend it some more, it will eventually snap off. So these were bent not quite to 90 degrees, and let's just see how they fit. Looks like I need to bend them just a little bit more, especially this one. If we had some type of way to measure this angle, that would be really valuable. You know, I can see having that if I do this project again. So we're basically looking for the holes to line up, and it looks like it's kind of a nice, tight, close fit. So once you have it bent, we're going to put it together with our clecos. So in your kit, we're going to use the copper clecos. You should have 10 of them. And these are going to be used to hold it in place. Go ahead and put one cleco in the top, one in the bottom. You don't have to do the middle cleco hole. So that looks good. And then I'm going to repeat for the other side. Hold my part up, confirm which way I need to bend. Bending almost to 90 degrees. checking the fit. That looks good. Grab some Clecos. How's everybody doing? Remember to unmute when you want to talk because I can't hear you when you're muted. It's all good. Anyone else turn their camera on? Show me your progress. I know, Carter, you're just watching because you don't have your kit. Marco, I don't know what your status is. Ian, I know your camera works. So once you have it Cleco together, that's a good time to inspect, make sure everything is good, everything lines up, no adjustments need to be made. Ian, how you doing?
I have a little bit of trouble trying to get the things to line up.
Okay, well, turn your camera, I can at least watch. I don't know exactly how I can help, but I can always try. A little bit of bending. Sometimes you kind of have to muscle it or flex the metal into place. The Clecos will definitely kind of bring everything together. They're really strong.
Okay.
Obviously. Have you tried any Clecos yet on that, Ian? So are you putting the tab part over or under? It should go underneath. So the tab should be on the inside. In theory. Oh. Jalen, how you doing?
I'm doing all right.
You got a camera to turn on? It'd be cool if you guys turn your cameras on so I can at least get a picture of this. Show my boss. Make sure I get a paycheck this month. Try putting a Cleco in one of those holes, Ian.
Just gotta figure out how to secure this so it doesn't
Yeah,
stick out.
that's what the Clecos are going to be for. Yeah.
I mean, I gotta try to secure it so I can put the Cleco in.
Just kind of line it up and let the Cleco do the work. Nothing wrong's gonna happen. I think it will work just fine. Obviously, this is one of those things that I make it look easy because I've done this a lot. So if you're getting frustrated, it will get easier. You're doing great. Squeeze the Cleco pliers and then insert it in. Ian, are you fully squeezing your Cleco pliers? You gotta squeeze them all the way and then put it in the hole. There we go. If you're ready to move on, the next step will be installing the 1/8 inch pop rivet. So yesterday, the day before, we should have taken our pop rivet squeeze and made sure we installed the nose piece for the 1/8 inch rivet. In your kit, you should have a box of pop rivets. These ones are smaller than the ones used for the bending tool. I'm going to go ahead and take a pop rivet, insert it into the middle hole where we don't have a Cleco. Might have to kind of wiggle it, persuade it a little bit, make sure. Look at the back side, make sure everything looks good. And then go ahead and take your squeeze and install the pop rivets. Do the middle holes first and then remove one Cleco, then add the pop rivet. If your hole is not lining up and the rivet's not going through, you might want to take a Cleco, put it in that hole temporarily. That might kind of shift things around and align it up. Take the Cleco out and then see if you can put the pop rivet in. Might be a little stubborn, just kind of see if you can persuade it. Two squeezes. You can also, if you're having trouble getting that rivet in, taking out a Cleco next to it, and that will allow a little more flex in the metal. Or just try a different hole, different rivet. Now just remove the Cleco, place it with a rivet. I'm ready to do my final rivet. So everything's been riveted together. And please direct your attention to my screen for the final bending step. So this section right here will just get bent up. I'm just gonna place it on the edge of the table. And this is the actual phone stand part. So it gets kind of bent, basically 90 degrees, just enough to hold your phone. I will be making an assignment in Canvas in the module for the toolkits for you to upload a photo of this once it's finished. Ta-da. When finished, put all the Clecos back in the Ziploc bag. Tools back in the toolbox. As well as any other items, close the box of rivets. And then properly clean and sweep up the shavings. I would not recommend sweeping with your hand because that's a good way to get the metal shavings cut in your hand or inside your skin. Best to use a broom or take your sheet of cardboard to the trash can and dump it in the trash can, and also dispose of the pop rivet stems.